Hour 3 of the program, the afternoon portion, is now live. We welcome now Natasha Srdoc, co-host America's Roundtable Radio Program, also co-founder, International Leaders Summit. Hey, Natasha.
Good afternoon, Gerard, to you and your listeners. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for joining us today. So let's start with Bibi Netanyahu's visit last week to the United States. Of course, he gave an incredible speech, I thought, to a joint session of our Congress. Unfortunately, many Democrat members of Congress chose not to attend the speech. I simply don't understand what appears to be their contempt for the nation of Israel and for their prime minister, Netanyahu. This seems to be like the only friend we have in the region. What's going on there?
Right, you're correct. That's the only true friend we have in the region, in the Middle East, the only democracy based on the rule of law in the region. And, it's amazing that Netanyahu gave a speech which was very carefully crafted, and it was delivered in a way not to offend, not to take sides from any side of the aisle. And basically, he juxtaposition the brutality of Hamas's attack with courageous and patriotic Israeli soldiers that are fighting against terrorist group Hamas. So it was done in such a way, basically, that was elevating both sides of the aisle, saying you always supported Israel throughout, for last 50 plus years since Israel's actually independence in 1948. And it's sad that the Democrats did not participate. But if you listen to his speech, and then he said at the end, if you want to take one message out of the entire speech, it's about our fight is your fight. Our victory will be your victory. And he also quoted Winston Churchill during the World War II, when he said, you give us the tools and we're going to do the job. And Netanyahu said, you give us the tools faster and we are going to do the job faster. So obviously he wanted to come. He came in order to get the message across that Israel needs ammunition, needs military aid in a faster way, and also, basically those tools that they need in order to fight the fight that is also our fight. So basically, also he raised the question of Iran, which is actually the whole war erupted because of Iran, because America gave money to Iran, released sanctions. They were able to get billions of dollars in release funds, plus all sanctions that were removed from exporting oil to China, exporting oil to even Russia. So basically, Iran was able to fund Hamas, which attacked, actually, terrorist group that attacked Israel, as well as Houthis in Yemen, and Hezbollah, unfortunately, which is now getting to basically escalate in the north, unfortunately.
Sure seems like it. So we've got, obviously, an important, a critical presidential election coming up here in just a few months. If the vice president, who's currently the Democratic candidate, were to prevail, do you believe that, and become installed as our next president, do you believe that our policies in the region and just on the global stage in general, from a foreign policy perspective, would continue as they are under this president, Joe Biden? Or does Ms. Harris kind of have a different set of viewpoints on this? I don't know that we know a whole lot about where she stands.
Right. Actually, her statement after meeting Netanyahu, in one sentence, he mentioned, we support Israel, we support Israel's right to defend itself, its sovereignty, with the two-state solution. So that was done in one sentence. Basically, what she said is that without putting much thought into it, that there will be always, Gaza Strip, which will be governed by who knows whom at this stage. the problem erupted because, I mean, they were proponents of two-state solution as well as those that changed their mind in light of Hamas's attack on Israel. So basically, as long as you have a terrorist organization living next to you that can actually attack you anytime they want, and they are funded by Iran, which can always provide more funding to actually boost those terrorist attacks, you cannot have a sovereign two-state solution. So basically, she basically wanted to talk to Arab communities, those that are against Israel in America. And that's unfortunate because when you think about that, that's also going back to Netanyahu's speech when he elevated courageous soldiers in the war against Hamas, that you see that Israeli society is very multi-ethnic, multicultural, and they have in their ranks. So soldiers are Arab Christian, Arab Muslim, and most recently the Druze community that was attacked just a few days ago with the rockets from Lebanon, actually Hezbollah's attack on Druze community where 12 children were killed just playing soccer. So Druze community is Arab Muslim community, which has always stood with Israel. They are among the most patriotic individuals in the country that are non-Jewish. So it's actually and they all come together. So this is not a war between Jews and Arabs. This is the war of terrorists attacking the state of Israel. They don't want them to exist, basically. And that's also the message of Iran. So it's a very clear situation that, and actually Kamala Harris doesn't do justice if she's just avoiding to discuss these very important issues in a very superficial way, just saying, those sound bites that everybody says they can interpret it their own way in order to support Kamala for the next president, right?
Yeah. Well, they don't want us to exist either. So I think that's what Benjamin Netanyahu was trying to communicate and convey to the joint session of Congress, that we just happen to be close and convenient, but to some extent, they're a proxy for us when it comes down to it.
Exactly. You're right, Gerard. They called small Satan, and we're called a great Satan.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got, like we said, we got this election coming up. Right now, it appears that Kamala Harris is enjoying what a lot of the political pundits call sort of a grace period, a honeymoon, if you will. She's kind of new and novel, the shiny new toy. Do you think this continues? What can we expect in the Democratic convention? Of course, she'll likely get a bump there, but do you think we're going to sort of come back down to reality, and will people start focusing on the policy distinctions between these candidates?
I think we shall, actually, because she cannot defend the record of this immigration, uncontrolled immigration, the rise of violence, the rise of crime, the rise of deaths from fentanyl that are coming from the southern border, the inflation that is still, they say inflation fell. Let's say inflation is at 2.8% second quarter this year. But inflation, that's year on year. From last year is only 2.8% more. But basically, since we started looking at it, it's 40% in grocery, like 38% increase in grocery prices within 4 years. And they say that some grocery prices got even 50% bump in the pricing. So basically, people can buy less and less with their income, much less than they were able to pay just a few years ago. So inflation is a problem, economy is a problem, foreign policy is a problem. There wouldn't be there wouldn't be Russia's invasion of Ukraine. There would not be Iran's attacking via proxies Israel. So basically, all this is something that she owns now. She was the vice president, and the same would continue if they stayed in power.
It feels like Mr. Trump really needs to focus on that and highlight those failures, because she was right there with Mr. Biden. She's even said that. So you can't just totally attribute those to the president. She was the vice president. She was involved in these policy-making decisions. But I'd like to see him really talk about, here's what life would be like if I'm president. Here's what it would be like if she becomes the president.
Right. I mean, he can tell stories, and it would be nice to hear those kind of stories, as you mentioned, to compare the record in a nice way, and approach like rural, or not rural, but yeah, rural families and those
Yeah.
that are in battleground states, to think about what was our life like while Trump was president, and what is our life like this time and last 4 years. And thinking about also foreign policy, we need to know that our taxpayers' money are going abroad because of the wars, and that's
Yep.
much less money that we can use for our own purposes here in the country.
Yeah, totally agree. Natasha, always good talking to you. Appreciate your wisdom and insight. I'm sure we'll be talking to you some more before the election. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Gerard. Have a great day.
You too. Coming right back, folks, in the
Bye.
Element Wealth studio.
Somebody show